Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel and welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. Now this is class number 60. That's a lot of classes. So we've had this is going to be the 60th class on the Uddhava-gita, and we're just starting, like I said in the very beginning of this course. This is a big one. You know, my Portuguese version of this class, of this course had 280 classes. So we have quite a ways to go yet. So what's happening here is that Krishna is talking about the ever important topic of the gunas. So important. This topic of the gunas is fantastically important and impactful in our lives. Like I said before, in Bhagavad-gita, Krishna dedicates 2.5 chapters of the 18 chapters to the topic of the gunas. And here he's going to talk about it, and later he's going to go back to the topic as well. Now, what he's going to say here now, he's going to finish up the instructions on the gunas, and that's going to give Uddhava an opening to ask him about another avatar. So we're going to soon enter a discussion and presentation of another little known but very interesting, fascinating avatar, the Hamsa Avatara. Now, of course, if you want to watch all the previous 59 classes, make sure you become a member of this channel. That's all you have to do. You become a member of this channel, and then you can access all the classes. The instructions are here in the description of the video. And also check out Uddhava-gita.com. At Uddhava.com you can see that the whole course is also structured nicely, so you don't get lost with the classes. Okay, so now we are in the 11th canto, chapter 13, verse 12, and Krishna then is talking to Uddhava, and he says, although the intelligence of a learned person may be bewildered by the modes of passion and ignorance, rajas and tamas, he should again carefully bring the mind under control. By clearly seeing the contamination of the modes of nature, he does not become attached. So this is a very important topic, and one of the principal ideas behind a lot of what's taught by Krishna and Bhagavad Purana, Bhagavad Gita. The idea is that knowing is half the way there to solving the problem. A lot of times we persist on problems, we suffer because we just don't know, we don't understand. But when you see it, when you understand it, then you can do something about it. And you know, it's just your own free will, it's your own mind. So you're not asking to control something beyond you. You're not asking to control something that depends on somebody else's free will, or you know, the powers of the universe, of the laws of physics. No, it's just you. It's what you should be able to control. So when you know these things that are going wrong in your consciousness, it's you, it's your mind. So you have a lot of power to redirect, to retrain your mind. You have, we actually don't understand just how much power we have. People misjudge just how much power they have to change. And I like to always point this out to people, especially when they're starting their spiritual journey. They're like, oh, I'm like this, you know, I could never be like that. I could never, I won't be able to do these things. I can't change. You don't underestimate yourself. You have tremendous power of change because it is your mind. It is yours. It's under your control, and actually nobody else controls it, really. And even Krishna is going to be pushing along and helping in the background. So you have all this support and nothing to stop you from changing how you think and feel. And of course, neuroscience proved it to us with the term neuroplasticity. Your brain actually changes. It rewires the way things connect inside. Areas of the brain grow and reduce So neuroscience has shown us, like, yes, this is true. We're actually changing the very shape and connections within our brain. So you have this power. Of course, it's not like, oh, I just want it. You know, you have to work on it a bit. You have to insist, but you definitely have this power. So what Krishna is saying here is, and this is totally going to be your situation if you take this path. It's certainly my situation. This is exactly what happens with all of us. We're trying to follow the path of yoga. This is what happens. Okay, you will be bewildered by rajas and tamas. Nobody is exempt from it. Not even Lord Brahma. Nobody is exempt from it. You know, not even, oh, he's such a famous guru. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You've seen these big gurus being bewildered by rajas and tamas. You've seen it over and over again. Some of them are, you know, very bogus anyway, but there's sincere ones. They're very sincere spiritual practitioners. And you will see them after decades of practice. They will be bewildered by rajas and tamas. That's just the nature of the world. And that's why Krishna talks about the gunas so much. Because they are here, they're right in our face, and they will influence us. It doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, it's going to happen. It's just there. It's just a powerful force of nature. It is nature. It is the very power of nature. It will influence you. So, although the intelligence of a learned person, so you're a learned person, you will be bewildered by rajas and tamas. It's a given. So, what do? We should then carefully bring the mind under control, because by seeing the contamination of the modes, he does not become attached. So this is yoga. Just simplify yoga 101 here. You're the observer of your mind. This is the key. This is the first point. This is the starting point of this journey, where you become the observer of your mind. You now observe your consciousness. You're not your mind. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. You're the observer of your mind, thoughts, and emotions. Even psychology will give you that. Even modern psychology, they tell you, yeah, you're not your emotions. You know, so don't become attached to them. Don't identify, I think that's a better word. Don't identify yourself. Make your identity your thoughts and your emotions. Be the observer. Very important topic. You've seen me talk about this in many videos and in many classes. Be the observer. You're sitting, observing your mind, your consciousness, this world. We're the observers. We're sitting in a comfortable seat in the theater. We're not the actors on the stage who are all like nervous and sweating because they're acting on stage. We are just observing. That is our true position, true spiritual position. So we're the observers. So, I now understand the modes. This is where knowledge comes in. This is why Krishna is talking about the modes. Let me understand what sattva is. Let me understand what rajas is. Let me understand what tamas is. You have to understand these things. That's why Krishna talks about them so much. Because you should be a guna master. You should understand the gunas. You should know immediately. It's not that difficult. It's not a complicated thing. This isn't rocket science. You know, it's like you can pretty much get it quite quickly. You just understand what's sattva, what's rajas, what's tamas. You know, just read again the descriptions. You know, read again those 2.5 chapters in Bhagavad-gita. Just understand what they are. And then you can recognize them because you're the observer. You're observing your mind. And you can say, oh, whoa, look at that. I just got all rajasic here. Or I just got tamasic. If you got angry, you got violent. Whoa. And I'm observing this. So I'm attentive. I'm not just flowing with it. Oh, no, that's the way I am. No, I'm the observer. I'm not becoming attached to my mind, to my emotions, to my thoughts. I'm not identifying myself with my thoughts, emotions, with my mind. That's rajas. That's tamas. That's not good. I don't want that. I'm not operating well with rajas and tamas. I'm going to make a mess of things. You're going to make a mess of things. In rajas, and especially tamas, you make a big mess of things. In rajas, you're making a mess of things as well. You're going to generate problems for yourself and for others. In rajas and tamas, we generate problems. That's what it is. We're creating. You might even feel like that's I'm going to go. In the moment, you're like, yes, because you're attached to it. You're identified with it. But it's just going to make your life more complicated in other people's lives as well. So you identify it, and then it's my mind. I will carefully bring the mind under control. This is yoga. This is what we're doing. This is the path of yoga, the whole thing. Bringing the mind under control, using knowledge, just jnana we're receiving, to know where we want that mind to be. We want it to be in sattva, we want it to be in dharma, we want it to be in bhakti. I'm controlling my mind. I'm directing my mind because I am observing it, and it is my mind, so I should try to control it. So you control it, so you don't let rajas and tamas take you away. You don't let it go too far. You might just, okay. Or just before you even spoke and said anything, it depends how quick you are, how strong the bewilderment of the gunas was, but you get it back. You take control again. Very important topic. Okay. Verse 13. A person should be attentive and grave, and never lazy or morose. Why? Because attentive and grave is sattva. You're attentive, you're aware, you're serious, grave. You're on it. This is serious, right? So that's sattva. And lazy or morose is tamas, right? You're like, who cares? And you're just like lying down, not taking care. No, that's tamas, very bad. Mastering the yoga procedures of breathing and sitting properly, one should practice fixing the mind on me at dawn, noon, and sunset. And thus gradually the mind should be completely absorbed in me. So now Krishna changes the focus, because he talked about controlling the mind, right? The last verse was like, okay, you detect the modes and you bring it under control. So now the topic has shifted to the mind being in control. So mind in control, you're attentive, you're serious, and so you're controlling the mind. If you're lazy or morose, then the mind says, oh yeah, okay, I'll take care of it now. And then the mind takes you down its crazy paths because you're not taking care of it. You're not in control anymore. So then the mind is just, the gunas just drag the senses. You're just going to be dragged around by material nature, basically, by maya, by illusion, by the modes. And that's the life we've been having for the last, millions of lifetimes, and that's not such a good idea, right? It got us into a lot of trouble, and here we are. So now we can change this. So for that, we want to be attentive now and serious. Let's okay, no more messing around here. I'm gonna drive this vehicle properly now. I'm gonna get my hands on the wheels again. I'll be serious. So now Krishna says, now he goes, meditation, sitting down and, breathing exercise, just to get you focused. And then fix your mind on me. This is great because it's nothing like having Krishna be the guru as well. So then he just directly says, fixing on me, at dawn, noon, and sunset. And thus gradually the mind should be completely absorbed in me. Of course, so the final goal of yoga is clearly explained everywhere. In Bhagavad-gita, Krishna, is to have your mind and intelligence fully fixed on Krishna. That is the perfection. That's what we're trying to get to. Our minds are bewildered. We have all these samskaras pulling us, all these gunas, the gunas acting on us. We have all this mess is going on. But what we're trying to do throughout this, this battleground of the mind, of all these minds exploding and bombs falling, but we're going towards that goal. Not easy, it's a battle, but that is where we're going. We want to keep our minds fully focused, immersed in Krishna. Now, Krishna says, dawn, noon, and sunset. So that's a nice practice. I do that myself because, it comes from the Gayatri. If you've heard of the Gayatri mantra or the chanting. So there was this whole tradition where the Brahmas would, at exactly dawn, noon, and sunset, chant the Gayatri mantra. Now, the Gayatri mantra is very nice. I chant it too. But honestly, it's more of a ritualistic, cosmic mantra. It's not such a specifically devotional yogic mantra. It wasn't done by yogis. It was done by brahmanas within the whole Vedic ritualistic system. So don't worry about the Gayatri. I'm not telling you to do the Gayatri. That's not the instruction. Krishna doesn't say that here. But what we're saying is just, chant the Hare Krishna mantra. That's a great mantra. That's a more powerful mantra than the Gayatri mantra because it contains Krishna's name. So God's names are very powerful. God's names are the sonic personification of God. It's the sonic presence of God in His name. And that's something that all theistic traditions have in common. All of them. All of them. Muslim, Jewish, Christian, especially the yoga, they all have this same instruction that the name of God is sacred, the holy name of God. It's very powerful. Everybody agrees. It's got to be right. If everybody agrees on this topic, from Muslims, Jews, Christians, quote unquote Hindus, everybody agrees on this point. Holy names, very powerful, direct connection to God. So, Hare Krishna mantra is actually more powerful than the Gayatri mantra. So why not, try this practice of dawn, just like the day, because, the day is going by, you wake up, middle of the day, the day's ending. There's like it's a real physical thing in your face. You can see the sun, right? You can see that it's dawn, noon, and evening, right? You don't live in a cave. So the passage of time is there. And as the time is going by, and all these different moments, you're like, Krishna. Whew. You focus your mind back on Krishna. Of course, the objective is not just to do it 3 times a day. The objective is to be completely absorbed in me, Krishna says. That's the objective. Of course, so we're going to do it more. I hope you're going to do it more than just, at dawn, noon, and dusk. But also, here's a suggestion. Do it dawn, noon, and dusk as well. Because that's going to keep you going back to the focus throughout the day, at least 3 times a day. You're like, oh yeah, right, that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm alive. That is actually the true purpose of my existence, to re-spiritualize, to regain, my true self in self-realization. So now at least 3 times a day, you're reminding yourself. The sun is helping you, remind you, or the earth's rotation is helping you, remind you, look, hey, your day is going by. Your life is going by. This could be the last day anyway. Hello, time is coming, death is coming. And what are you doing with your mind? How are you progressing spiritually in this super rare, amazing human life you've received? What are you doing with it? So, dawn, noon, dusk. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Of course, my purpose. Don't get bewildered by the modes. A very nice suggestion by Krishna. Verse 14. The actual yoga system as taught by my devotees, headed by Shonaka Kumar, is simply this. Having withdrawn the mind from all other objects, pratyahara, one should directly and appropriately absorb it in me. So Krishna says, okay, here's a summary of the whole yogic path. And it's taught by, headed by Shonaka Kumar. So that's going to be a hook. That's going to be a hook Uddhava is going to use. But let's focus first on what he's saying. So Krishna is like, how do you sum up, what's the summary of the entire yogic path in one line? Having withdrawn the mind from all other objects, one should directly and appropriately absorb it in me. That's it. That is the whole instructions, that you can stop right here and that's it. You can just go now. And if you can just do this, you're all set. Everything else we're saying here is just to help you do this. So this is what we're doing. This is the mission statement. And we don't know, but how do we do it? And what about this? And what about, okay, so then we have to learn a little more. And so we have, hundreds of Uddhava-gita classes and, dozens of Bhagavad-gita classes. Okay, we have to learn a little more. But that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing, okay? That's all we want to do, is withdraw our mind from other objects and fix it appropriately and directly in Krishna. Now, Krishna gave us an amazing technique for doing this in Bhagavad Gita. And that technique is, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give to others, whatever is going on, do that as an offering unto me, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. This is the sum and substance of the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. Do that as an offering unto me. Perform your dharma in sattva. We know we have to be in sattva. We have to be in sattva because in sattva we follow naturally our dharma. So we want to be in dharma as well. So dharma and sattva. So you do that as an offering to Krishna. That's it. It's so easy. But it's not so easy, right? Because, again, the gunas are there bewildering our minds and our samskaras and the vasanas and we're being pulled this way and that way. And our minds, and we get lazy and morose and the mind takes... So it's not so easy. But the instruction is simple. Very good way of doing it. So instead of, not that you have to go to a cave and, retract your senses in the cave and not think of anything else. No, just whatever you're doing, do that as an offering unto Krishna. So then your mind is, by doing that, directly and appropriately absorbed in me. That's the technique we're teaching here. Krishna's technique. Follow your life in dharma, in sattva, and do that as an offering unto Krishna. Consciously, not just, remember that it was for Krishna at some point every 10 years. No, consciously remember that you're doing it for Krishna. At least, dawn, noon, and dusk. Okay, very nice instruction. Purport. This one has a little purport. The other ones didn't have any purport. The word yata, accordingly or properly, indicates that like Uddhava, one should hear directly from Lord Krishna or his bona fide representative, and directly, adha, fix the mind in Lord Krishna. Okay, so, there was a little hook, a mention of, we finished the guna topics. Krishna talked about the path of yoga. He summed up the path of yoga in one line. But then he mentioned, led by, Shonaka Kumar. So it's like, oh, wait a second then. Sanaka Kumar. So what's this? So then Uddhava is going to ask a question. Verse 15, Sri Uddhava said, my dear Keshava, it's another name for Krishna, my dear Keshava, at what time and in what form did you instruct the science of yoga to Sanaka and his brothers? I now desire to know about those things. So a new topic is opening up here. A new topic is being revealed. You know, like, let's talk about that if you don't mind, Krishna. I want you mentioned that. How and when did that happen? And it's funny because he says, in what form? Like, how did you appear to them to say these things? Verse 16. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said. So immediately Krishna answers. Once, and then he starts the story. Now we're starting, this is officially us starting the story of the Hamsa Avatar. Once, the mental sons of Lord Brahma, namely the sages headed by Sanaka, inquired from their father about the difficult subject matter of the supreme goal of yoga. So this is, the four Kumaras, the famous four Kumaras. So who are the four Kumaras? You remember? Lord Brahma, at the very beginning of the universe, he had, his dharma is to generate, populate, engineer the universe where we live in, fill it with living beings so the souls can occupy these bodies and go on with their spiritual journeys. So that's Lord Brahma's hugely difficult job and dharma. So he has this dharma. So there he was just starting things. He's sitting down on the lotus flower. There's nothing in the universe still, he's just working on it. He's just starting. So then he creates from his mind, because he has the power, Lord Brahma can create other living entities from his body, his mind, from different parts of his body, even from his shadow, because he's got this creator potency. Otherwise, because there isn't like some other female around here, he was the only one, and he starts alone in the universe. So he creates these four Kumaras from his mind. There's the first beings that come into the universe after Lord Brahma, the four Kumaras. And he thought, oh, these guys, great, I've got four. Now they can start, they can help me, populate the universe. They can have children and grandchildren and off we go. I've gotten started in my job. But then he was sorely disappointed because the four Kumaras were actually highly evolved sages. And their focus was different. Their dharma was just to attain spiritual knowledge and spiritual perfection. So they refuse the order of their father. He gets really angry. Lord Brahma gets really, but they say, no, Father, we're not, no way are we having children. Children are hard work. If you don't have children. If you have children, you totally know what I'm saying. And if you don't, maybe one day you'll find out. So they're really hard work. And the whole thing of children means you have to have like marriage, and marriage is hard work. And then you have to have a house, and everything is hard work. So they're like, no, we're not doing that stuff. No, we're just going to be, discussing philosophy, meditating. We're just going to be doing something else. So he gets really angry. And from his third eye, Lord Shiva appears. So that's the fifth person to appear in the universe. Lord Shiva appears. But anyway, that's another story. So these are the four Kumaras. I'll just give you the background. But these are the four Kumaras who are highly intelligent. These like primordial beings, primordial gurus of the universe. And they are the ones who are inquiring from Lord Brahma. But I'll tell you more next week, if Krishna permits, and have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love.